WIBTA if I finally said screw it and went no contact with a majority of my family without telling them? Hi, this is my first post on Reddit, and it's a long one. I'm on mobile, so please excuse any mistakes. I, 29F, am about to go completely no contact with multiple members of my family, and I'm feeling incredibly guilty about it. Some backstory. I have 3 older sisters, all married, 2 with kids. My oldest sister has no kids, the rest of us all have 2. My older 2 sisters are significantly older than myself or our other sister, due to us being adopted as very young babies when they were teenagers. Because of this, my second oldest sister's children were only 6 to 7 years younger than me. When I was younger, our house burnt down and then our mom got extremely ill, leading to our older sisters both eventually moving back in with their husbands and kids. Over time, life happened. My dad passed when I was 17, and it really messed me up mentally. I ended up in a very abusive relationship with someone older than me who I eventually married and had my children with. Fast forward a few years, my mom has passed, my older 2 sisters and their husbands/kids got the house. The sister closest to me in age is in a different state and we were low contact. I'm in a different state and have given up asking my family for support because every time I asked for help when my, now ex-husband yelled or broke things or hurt me, I was told to just muddle through and let him sleep it off. Then he hit me, tried to hit me again, missed, and hit my, at the time 3 years old, daughter. I called my second oldest sister, begging and crying for help, and was told maybe you shouldn't have aggravated him into it. My ex-husband then took my kids to said sister's house and left them there while he went to yet another state for work. I spent every day for the next year begging and fighting to talk to my children. Then COVID hit and I was homeless in my car. I told myself it couldn't possibly get worse, so I used my food money and drove back to my home state to finally get to see my kids. When I got to them, my 3-year-old daughter had an untreated 4th-degree burn that was infected over 1/3 of her back. Both my sister and my ex-husband refused to take her to the hospital, so I did. My daughter was septic, the doctor said she was hours away from dying. DCF then took both my kids and refused to give me any information about them, telling me we told your husband already, and wouldn't listen when I told them he and I were separated. I then spent the next 2.5, almost 3 years fighting my ex-husband and DCF at every turn for custody of my kids and finally got it. During this whole time, there was little to no contact between me and any of my siblings unless it had to do with my children. As soon as my children were in my custody, I was getting regular phone calls and daily messages about them. And I was so mentally broken and exhausted from the fighting, I gave in and updated them on life and my kids and let them back in. But it's all starting to add up now. At every turn I am reminded that I am not really family. I've never been visited at my house, no matter how close I lived to them, but when I lived literally states away, I was always willing to drive the full length of distance to see them. I offered to host a holiday meal at my house, just to see everyone, and was told due to physical health restrictions, they couldn't be in a vehicle long enough to get to my house. Then the next day, pictures were posted to social media of those same people in a city much further away from their house than my house is. Most recently, my niece got married and neither I nor my other sister, also adopted, were told. Here's where I feel like an a-hole. When our house burnt down, my mother was significantly ill rather quickly after that. When my second oldest sister moved in with her children and husband, it was to help take care of myself and my sister closest to me in age, as well as our autistic brother, who has unfortunately passed away. So she went from having a 6- and 7-year-old of her own to also having a 13-year-old girl, a 14-year-old girl, and a 16-year-old autistic boy, basically overnight. And even though my sister and brother and I got treated differently than our sister's children, in many different ways, we were taken care of. My oldest sister eventually moved in with her husband, and my second oldest sister never wavered. We were always fed and always had electricity and clean clothes and a house to go home to. Can I really just sweep all of that under the rug because I feel excluded?